Before we get into this episode, for this month, I wanted to tell the NPs about signing up for the TDC's group live webinar titled Risk Realities and Insights into Medical Liability Exposure for Advanced Practice Clinicians. It is on October the 23rd, and you earn 1 hour of CME credit while gaining valuable insights. As advanced practice providers gain greater clinical autonomy, their exposure to malpractice risk grows. Register today, link in the show notes. Attention all nurse practitioners and NP students, are you tired of feeling the disconnect between clinical rotations and didactic teaching? Say hello to Success NP's clinical booklet guides.
As NPs ourselves, we know how valuable it is to have a resource that helps bridge the gap between clinical and class. So we created the digital resource to do just that. Our clinical booklets cover 5 major NP tracks: psych, adult, peds, family, and women's health. Success NPs wants to create tools and provide support NPs need to thrive in their careers.
So why wait? Check out our Success NP Etsy shop, linked in the show notes, for our digital guides and other digital clinical resources. Hi, Success NP, your host here, Sandra, and today we are joined by Olivia Gargioni. She graduated in 2017 with a bachelor's in nursing, and she has experience as an anesthetic and PACU nurse for 7 years before currently starting her job as a travel nurse. She goes away for months at a time and loves working in all the new places. So she became burned out early in her career within 3 years of becoming a nurse and decided that she maybe wanted to pursue a degree in dietetics, completely in the healthcare space, but outside of nursing. But what she was able to do was by taking a step back and working an office nursing job, she was able to get new perspective and a lease on life as her life stepped away from being so closely tied to bedside nursing. So she likes to think of herself as more than a nurse and as someone who wants to inspire healthcare workers to put their oxygen mask on first before oxygenating the rest of the world. And she wants to share that with healthcare workers worldwide. Welcome to the podcast, Olivia. We're so happy to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited that I'm literally speaking to someone from the opposite side of the world also. It's so cool.
Crazy, right? Across the world.
And I'm really excited for our conversation today.
Yeah, me too. And we have a common friend, our friend Liam at High Performance Nursing. He's so bright, so genius. He's on that side of the world. So we love him. And I know you've been on his podcast. And I love your name, Olivia. It's one of my favorite names. So I'm so happy to have you. Yeah, I love it. I almost named my daughter that. I just loved it so much. So, well, today I really wanted to talk about what it looked like in your journey as an RN and what led you to coming to this spot where you were like, I need to get out and run away from nursing, and getting more education is my ticket out of here. What was going on in your career that led you to that spot?
Yeah, well, I guess burnout was a massive thing of that. I probably at the time didn't know that I was burnt out. I just thought that I hated nursing. I just thought that I just didn't like it. It wasn't for me. And the factors that played into that was I worked so much. I was constantly doing overtime. So my whole life was basically in the hospital, and that's what I was doing. But my self-worth was actually in the job and the work that I was doing. And that was how I felt worthy, right? And so I was like, well, if I don't even enjoy that, and then it was kind of like what they talk about, like an ego death of like, okay, well, I don't like the thing that helps me feel worthy anymore. So who even am I, and what am I going to do with my life if I'm not a nurse? Like, and that becomes a big question for a lot of people that I notice is, well, if I'm not a nurse, then who am I? It's like, you are so much more than that. Like, that's just one aspect of you. So yeah, it was like that burnout, that fatigue, that not knowing even what I wanted to do. And I knew I'd always been into health. That's always been my thing. And so that's why I chose to go into studying dietetics only for that semester. But that was the only other thing that I thought I could do. And I thought, well, I grew up in the era of, you go to school and go to university and study something. And I probably unconsciously put that pressure on myself to go, oh, well, I have to get another degree in something that's, I'm qualified. but also something that I might enjoy.
Yeah, I relate so much to what you're saying because I think I always knew I wanted to be a nurse practitioner. So that part was pretty solid even when I was in nursing school. But I remember feeling that pressure, and that was probably intrinsic, something that was coming from inside of me that I had to get out of nursing because I experienced a similar burnout right around the 3-year mark, just like you did. And I was glad that I was halfway through my NP degree because I was just so burned out with working as a nurse. And the things that lead to the burnout are kind of what you described. I'm working overtime. I'm picking up extra shifts to maybe make a little extra money. You're just you're not really focused on anything. You're not really, at least for me, I didn't feel like I had an end goal with why I was just picking up more or just doing more, or kind of like what you said, your identity is wrapped into your job. And so you end up becoming, you become your worst enemy in these types of situations by
Mhm.
overworking and kind of ignoring what the soul might be saying or craving because you're just busy. And so, yeah, I think that when was the first start that you had towards leaving like, what was it that, was there a pivotal moment? Like, was there a moment of inflection that made you go, I got to stop this? Was it something that happened, or was it just a gradual crescendo that eventually your soul screamed out, this has got to stop? Because a lot of nurses will tell me, I was sick in bed and I was laying there and it just overwhelmed me. And I was like, I'm not doing this right. I need to back away from this. And then the soul begins to speak other things to you. Right. And so a lot of them will say, I started doodling or I started doing something else. Because once you get into you got into dietetic school and you were studying, at some point you begin to realize this was not connecting to your soul either. So that kind of, cause another shift for you to step away from that. So what was it? Well, what was happening at your job?
I never had probably a moment of, I wasn't like sick in bed. I think for me, I think it was more unhappiness. I noticed that I was unhappy and I had a partner at the time. And I noticed that our relation, the way that I was in the relationship was also impacting,
Mhm.
like me being so burnt out and working all the time was impacting the relationship as well. So that was a big part of it. And I started meditating and I started being really into health, but more down a holistic path. And I started exploring that. And that's when I really felt the passion light up inside of me. And I thought, so maybe it's not quite dietetics. I was on the right path to like, yeah, I want to go into health and that's what I am passionate about. But dietetics wasn't the right path. It was holistic health and wellness and yeah, things like that. And meditating and I guess getting a calmer nervous system because like part of burnout is your nervous system's absolutely fried by that
Yeah.
point. So
Yeah. I think that's interesting that you use the word meditation, right? It's that introspection, that time of reflection to figure out what it is that you're searching for. And I think that's important for nurses and nurse practitioners, or even nurses considering being nurse practitioners, to talk about what it is that you're really after. What are you seeking? And I've talked about this on a podcast with Sarah Lorenzini. She's the rapid response nurse, and she had me on, and we talked about this exact thing, about how running towards something when you're burned out doesn't escape the burnout. You've got to figure out what it is inside of you that is feeling unfulfilled and or is contributing to your nervous system being so overwhelmed. Because I love this quote by Tony Robbins where he says, if I don't have 5 minutes to meditate, what kind of life am I living? Like, what kind of life am I living if I don't even have time to listen to my soul? You're not living a life. Like, you need that. So stop whatever you're doing and take care of yourself. I think that's really good. I think a lot of nurses feel pressured to level up by becoming a nurse practitioner. Or, we're just kind of applying it to the different roles that we have. Why do you think this mindset is so common in the nursing profession? We have to level up. We have to go do something else to prove our worth.
mm, I mean, a lot of that probably comes from childhood and the way that we've grown up. So, and I'm not blaming it on parental roles, but that can be a factor. What it is really it's that self-worth piece of like someone taught you that you were, whether it's through school, whether it's from your parents, whether it's now your own way to justify how you feel about yourself or how you're portrayed to other people. So that feeds into your ego, is that you feel good when you have that. And, for some people, that's great. I don't think it's necessarily a terrible thing, but if that's the only thing that's helping you feel worthy, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think like there is a lot of, I notice, culture of like doing postgrads in nursing, like, and people are surprised that I don't have a postgrad. And I'm like, I'm just not I'm not passionate about doing a postgrad. I'm passionate about holistic health. So I don't see the point in doing a study where I'm not passionate about it. I'd
Yeah.
rather study something else outside of it and be passionate about that and spread that message on social media, which is what I'm doing. Because I feel like my soul would literally call out to me and probably make me sick if I actually did a postgrad.
Yeah.
Because it would be like,
Yeah. No, I
we're not
think,
meant to do that.
yeah. And I think it's really important what you're describing, which is an awareness of who you are and a security in that, so that when you're navigating life, you don't feel like you need to explain yourself.
Mm.
I think as a culture, we like to pretend that nursing is a ladder. Like, okay, CRNA to RN, RN with a BSN. Oh, okay. RN MSN. Oh, now RSMN is NP and then NP DNP. And so there's this ladder that we have set up that people are called to climb.
Mm.
And I think we need to think about it more as like a lattice. Like, kind of, there's different ways to go. There's different branches. There's different, like, it could be a lateral move, but it could just be the lateral move you need to avoid burnout, to find that spot in your mental space, in your physical space, in your relationship space that's better. So I think that it's a ladder with many directions: education, informatics, entrepreneurship, finding passionate things that you like within nursing and inspiring other nurses to pursue that for themselves. Whichever it is, I don't think that it's got to be a ladder or completely jumping ladders to a whole nother ladder. It could just be, hey, listen, this nursing degree is your ticket to so many different things. You can just go do a lateral move or maybe something within nursing that's just better fitted for you.
Totally. I totally agree. I always talk about, if people start feeling burnt out or feel like they're working too much, I said, you can actually make nursing work for you. Pretty much everywhere in the world is desperate for nurses. We are actually in the position of power and people need us just as much as we do need the job. But you can choose to work 3 days a week for a bit and have a break. Given people's circumstances are different in life and bills and things like that. But, you could make it work. You could choose to, or say to your partner, hey, I just need to work 3 days a week for a while, or like, 3 days one week for the other, and just take some time.
Yeah. Do you think that the nursing culture glamorizes overworking without fully explaining the reality of what it can do to the soul?
I think so. Yes. I think there is a culture where whoever works the hardest is rewarded, and whether that's just through praise from other people or like, collectively someone goes, oh, like so and so on, in our department, they work so hard. So they're amazing. They're the best, which like it's great that they work so hard, but I do worry for their nervous system and how that's doing. Yeah, I do notice in the culture that it's like, people who are constantly doing overtime and working more, it's like this play of trying to get praise of like, oh, like, I'm so tired. I've just like worked 8 days straight or done overtime. And I'm like, did you choose to do that? Are you enjoying that? And it all comes from an unconscious place a lot of the time. These people don't realize that they're doing that because, like, you've seen Tony Robbins and seen him talk about a few things, I'm assuming. And he talks about human needs. And our human needs are quite basic. We've got like food, shelter, that stuff, connection. And he's a huge one. And people will do interesting things to get connection if they're not getting it from other areas of their life. like going to work for people is connection. So yeah, plays into human needs too.
Yeah. And I think just speaking from the RN to the NP role, they each have different things associated with them that lead to the burnout. So, like for you, working as a nurse, you talk a lot about, like you said, the hardest working one, the one that's always there. There's a similar thing with the nurse practitioner role, too. I mean, again, the nurse practitioner role, you have more autonomy, you are writing prescriptions, you're doing different things that are they're kind of next level, but it's very attractive because you're just like, oh, I'm able to do all these things. But the reality is they come with a heavy load and a heavier responsibility that doesn't always lend itself to less burnout, right? So a nurse that's like, oh, if I became a nurse practitioner, I wouldn't be so burned out. It's like, no, you can just be a burned out NP and like $250,000 in debt. That burnout, if you don't have the right coping skills as the RN, doesn't change what happens when you become an NP. And I just think it's a good conversation to have, because if a nurse is struggling and is pursuing this as a way to escape, I think what I'm gleaning from you is spending time figuring out what lights you up. And I hope they're hearing from me. This role has its own issues and difficulties and things that if you don't cultivate the skills to be healthy at your job, it's just going to translate into the same burnout, just a different role. And I think I think that's the part that I want people to kind of hear today. So tell me some of the skills as a holistic health practitioner that you work with your clients when they reach out to you. What are some of the ways that you help them personally kind of fight through the burnout?
Yeah. So because in the word holistic, I want to know like mentally and emotionally where they're at and what's going on for them currently, because that plays in massively into everything else that's going on. If you're constantly preoccupied by what's going on up here and this is constantly running loops and unconscious programs that are not like serving your highest good, then we need to address that. And then also we do need to address the physical body as well. And so we're like looking at things like what's like very simple things. What's your diet like? Are you drinking enough water? Very, very simple, like nutritious balance, because you would be surprised when you fix up, like your diet fuels your cells and your cells are what gives you energy. We know this as nurses. And it is wild to me that like so many healthcare workers don't look after their cells more than,
Their basic biological
yeah,
needs.
like
Yeah.
you need to fuel your cells with really good food. And like, it's not to say I don't eat perfect and healthy 100% of the time, but my basis is that I do fuel my cells really well. And then that allows me to be able to eat dessert, and go out for meals and things like that, because I already have the healthy base. Like you do build a foundation with a house, you build the good foundation first and then you build the rest. So yeah, it's definitely looking at their physical body, their mental and emotional well-being and what needs to happen there. And then like we talked about, that soul level, like what are you passionate about? What lights you up? And if you don't know what that is, great. That's exciting because you get to start to find out what that might be for you.
I like that perspective. Yeah. And how do you help them figure that out? Because again, you know, is it that you encourage them to maybe go part-time at their job or take less hours or, journal and figure out what about the day you enjoyed and or do you just say, hey, listen, maybe we need to pick a different career in nursing that aligns more with your personality or way your nervous system is structured? Kind of what do you recommend?
I like to give the autonomy to my client. So I never like to make a decision for them. I guess I give them options. So, it might be, well, if you do, like, do you want to be a nurse? Do you still want to be a nurse? Yes or no? Yes. You know,
Oh, you started
like,
fixing.
yeah, like, do you still want to
Yeah.
be in the career is a great place to start, because some people don't actually want to leave. It's just that they feel like crap. So it's like, do you still want
Yeah.
to be a nurse? Yes. Okay, great. Can you drop hours? Can we look at your budgeting? Do we need to go over it? It's Financial literacy is also something that's really important and something that I actually didn't have starting as a nurse and really wish I did. I think conversations about money, I don't know what it's like in America, but in Australia, it's a little bit funny to talk about money sometimes, and people get a little bit embarrassed or shameful that they don't have financial literacy, but maybe they were never taught. So that's also really important to talk about, and if they can drop hours, then great. We start with that. We reduce hours. And what I get them to do is start putting themselves first, start implementing boundaries with work and saying no more and saying yes to themselves. And then when we're looking at, what lights you up, I go back to like, what did you like to do when you were a kid? Like what was it that you felt immense joy? Like, and if you didn't, because that's also sometimes a thing where, everyone has had a different background growing up and maybe didn't have the best childhood. And so it's like, then we just start to experiment. It might be as simple as like taking yourself for a beach walk in the morning and getting a coffee from your favorite coffee place. And that might be your simple joy. And we call those things glimmers, you know, little glimmers in life that just are a little sparkle of giving you some joy and hope and something outside of nursing.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that. What I was thinking too, and when I've had these conversations with nurses, is when you create time and energy and space for yourself, you allow yourself to dream and to start to figure out, kind of like what you said, what you enjoy doing. And you can even take a course. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a whole degree. It can literally just be a single course on like, I liked doing cross stitch. And so I don't know, I mean, cross stitching or yarn, or I like to make, and that'd be so funny because say you enjoy that, and then you could take that and play it into nursing. You could create little things and sell them on Etsy. I mean, that part of our soul that's creative, I believe was from the beginning, that we were created by a creator, and the creator knitted in us the ability and the desire to create. And so sometimes I feel like we get so caught up in thinking life has to look a certain way. We've got to have a certain car, and we got to drive and live in a certain house, and we have to spend this amount of money to keep up with the people around us that we think that's what they have too. And so we overwork and we overstress, and we think, oh, I could pick up 4 more hours and make $200 more or $300 more, and that'll make me happy. And you get in those positions and you're like, actually, if you stayed home and just bought a $5 thing of yarn and you knit, it would maybe be just as happy as if you went to work and, went and worked for $200 to then go spend $100 or $200 doing something else to make yourself happy. So you end up chasing yourself in a strange way. I don't know if I'm describing that right, but you end up chasing yourself. And then also, like, finding community is something that I think a lot of us are craving. We're craving community so much. So that's why social media is blowing up so much, like the way that it is, following nurse influencers and all these different things, because we want to connect so badly with people. And I think, when you're at work, you're not really connecting with others. You're just kind of working alongside of them. And I think sometimes too, it's like kind of want to hang out with my friends, but maybe it doesn't need to be at work. Maybe it's just like you guys go and do something together outside of your job, or, you find other friends and you kind of expand your world. I think sometimes too, kind of being in a bubble, in a tunnel around people that are just as upset and not enjoying nursing as much as you are, begins to affect your soul
Yeah,
as well.
totally. I love that. I love the bit that you said about being a creative person. Like as women, we create life. So naturally, we actually are creative. And I think
Right.
getting into like nursing and burnout and all of that, that takes away from that creative aspect. So that is actually such an important point, is putting in something where you feel like you're creative. Like you said, cross stitch or painting or dancing.
As healthcare providers, every single second counts, especially when you're making critical decisions. That's why nurse practitioners and physicians at every stage of their career rely on Epocrates. Epocrates is the trusted clinical intelligence platform accessible via app and the web to support healthcare professionals with access to indispensable clinical intelligence they value to make the best possible decisions at any moment of care. Whether it's checking drug interactions, identifying pills, or assessing evidence-based guidelines, Epocrates provides the accurate, timely answers you need. Visit Epocrates.com and apply offer code SUCCESS to their most popular yearly subscription plan to receive a whopping 20% off discount on your purchase. Again, that's Epocrates.com, offer code SUCCESS. Epocrates is the clinical information you need at your fingertips.
Like, there are so many things. And it doesn't matter what it is. If you feel creative in whatever that is, then that's great. So yeah, that was such a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's just something I thought about when you were talking, because I know that's what the podcast has been for me. And so many other nurses have described that when they have gone off and allowed themselves to create, it's incredible what they're able to do. And they're like, I am a nurse, but I'm also own this shop of like little tiny hearts that I like like it ends up being something crazy. And they're like, I had no idea that this would have led
Yeah.
me to that. And it was because they took time to, get quiet. And I think too, nurses feel a level of guilt about taking time off. Whenever you're mentoring a client and they're like, I feel bad, I don't want to take time off, and I'm not going to look like the nurse that's grinding. I'm not going to be the grinder nurse, and they're going to look at me different. What are some things that you do to help combat that
So I
mindset?
get really curious about you know, I ask certain questions. So it's like if they're saying to me, like I don't want to what did you say? I don't want to take time off because I won't be the nurse that works the hardest. I'm like, so my question
Yeah.
would be like, who told you that you had to be that? Where did that come from? That's a big bomb because that's like, well, it's probably going to be a parental figure when we go deep into it. So it's about
Yeah.
getting curious about where this belief comes from, because we're not born with these beliefs. We're not born straight out of the womb and go, oh yeah, I want to be a hard worker. We learn that. That's a learnt behavior. So it's like, where did you learn that? And how do we start to unlearn that and unravel that web of feeling like, okay, well, can you like you would, with a friend, for example. And then I think I always do this as a really good example because I'm like, if you saw your friend feeling like they had to be worthy all the time and constantly working, like you'd just be like, oh my God, I just want to shake them and be like, stop that. You need to be that friend for yourself. You need to be your own best friend and be like, you know what? We're not feeling guilty and we're going to stop working and we're going to take a break because you deserve that.
Yeah. I think too, as an NP, when you become a mother, it's a whole nother level of
Mm.
complexity within this realm. And which is why it's really important that you have these skills and you are embracing these skills, especially for women. Well, I was speaking to the women on this little subject here. It's important that you cultivate those skills as a nurse, because when you become an NP, or even as a nurse mom, you're working as a nurse and you're a mom, and you're working as an NP as a mom, you feel so guilty because you are so torn in different areas. And I think that I am thankful that I've always had a mindset of like, seasons. There are different seasons for this, different seasons for that. And I'm not going to be a star here because I'm looking for stardom someplace else. And it's not in this area over here. It's just not. And nursing, and that way can work for you really, really well, because you can still be plugged in. You don't have to try to be the star. You can do your job well, but you have to also keep it in perspective to the life that you want to cultivate and live. And so I think starting off with these skills in the very beginning when you're a baby nurse, that when your life changes, which inevitably it will when you get married and you have children, and now you're in, I think, the greatest role that you could ever have as a mother, your boundaries with your job are like, it is what it is. Like, I'm just not going to be that person. And it's very freeing. It's tough, but it is very freeing to be in that space. And I think you only get there by cultivating those skills before. Because I know a lot of NPs that have not had that perspective, and then they've looked back and they were like, I poured too much. Like, I shouldn't have poured all that into this job, because that moment in your life is gone and you won't get it back. And so you've got to have those boundaries in the very beginning to say no when needed, to say, I'd like to help, but my schedule's full right now. And that's just not what I'm able to do at this stage of my life. And I think that going back to what you said earlier about nursing needing us, they need us. And so if you have that perspective, you'll move with a quiet confidence and it's not my time to shine right now, or I just need to step away from this because I'm doing too much. My nervous system's out of 10. I can't do it. Yeah. How does a RN evaluate if their desire for growth is rooted in burnout or their desire for change in their career is rooted in growth or burnout in your perspective?
I think there's like a massive difference because if it's rooted in burnout, it's likely that you'll feel your nervous system will feel absolutely shot. So you'll be feeling all sorts of things like constantly exhausted, like all those physical symptoms. And also, it'll probably be coming from a place of like, I'm done with nursing. I hate it. Like, I just want to get out, but I don't know what else I want to do. Like, probably more of this pessimistic, negative,
Yeah.
what would you call it, energy. Whereas if it's rooted in growth,
Yeah.
it's probably more coming from inspiration and wanting more for your life. So it's like, you know, it's not necessarily that you're burnt out or that you don't like nursing. It's just like, well, I actually just want more for myself and I want to explore this part and I want, I want to do this because I'm passionate about it. Or, sometimes it's as simple as some people want that extra pay, small pay rise with that comes with the extra study. Or then, like me, I studied holistic health practitioner, which is completely separate from nursing. And that was what I was passionate about. And it's like, I don't necessarily want to leave nursing yet because I believe for me to inspire other people, I want to stay in working in it for now. But I'm still really passionate about holistic health. And so that's like a driver for me to do that also. So I think does that difference make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. So I think that your holistic health is where you have married nursing to something that you're passionate about. And I think that that's kind of what I want another take home for this podcast episode to really describe that you can marry nursing with so many things. And nursing doesn't have to just look like working in the hospital grinding, that it can be what you make it. You can actually create what you want for your career. And I talk about having different dials and turning up and turning down different areas of your life. And so, for example, like you took your nursing career and you maybe turned it down in a way. Like, I'm just going to travel. I'm going to take my time. I might work some months. I might take a break. I'll save my money and take some time off. I'll kind of turn that dial down. And then you turning up holistic health practitioner and meeting with nurses and having conversations and helping them and consulting and doing that. So you turn that up, turn that down. You could turn up something else, and find another venue or another avenue of something that you enjoy. Maybe I like podcasting. Maybe I don't know. And so now you create a podcast around holistic health and nursing. And now you've got these are things that I feel like I have been able to ascribe that nursing allows you to create. It's one of the most incredible careers because you are allowed to create with this degree that you can then bounce into other areas and actually pull it back and let it coexist inside of your nursing degree, which is incredible. And another thing that you said that I first thought about when you're making a decision between growth, determining if you're looking for growth and moving away from burnout, I think it has a lot to do as well with rush and hurry. I think that's a very big red flag. I think that if you are in a position where you're like, I gotta get out of here, I gotta go now, I gotta figure out what to do, I gotta da 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 da. Anytime that you are rushed in anything, I always tell this to my friends. They're like, oh, I don't know what to do at this doctor's appointment, and they're forcing me to make a decision. I'm like, that's bad. This is a red flag. You need to make decisions out of calm, out of peace, out of, I don't know what it is, but it's a self-assurance that you are not running, that you are walking. We're not running, we're walking towards this next step. Because I think whenever you do anything in hurry, you're going to make mistakes and you're not going to hear yourself talk because you're so busy running and you're so busy rushing. So I think that's another thing I wanted to add that I feel like that's how you know if it's growth or if it's burnout, because I feel like burnout, there's a sense
Mm.
of like panic. Gotta go, gotta get out now. And I began to feel that panic while I was nursing, while I was working as a nurse, but I was already in the nurse practitioner program. I was just finishing the degree. And so one did not cause the other, but they did live together at the same time. But one was not, I did not feel the burnout that led to the degree. It was, okay, I'm burned out while I'm getting my degree and something needs to end. So what final advice would you give to an RN that's feeling uncertain about their next step? They're burned out. They don't know where to go. What do I do? Where do I start in trying to maybe walk towards my next decision instead of running? What advice would you
So
give?
generally with people we're going to see that are burnt out, we're going to see a really dysregulated nervous system. And like you just said, when our nervous system's dysregulated and we're trying to make that quick decision, that's usually a decision that comes from fear of like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I just need to like quit and like do something, because we need certainty
So
in
good.
life. That's normal. And also it's like nothing's ever certain in our life either. So we need to find certainty in the uncertainty. So what I would recommend first is calming the nervous system down. And that's why I do recommend just don't quit yet. Like take a step back, take some time off and become your priority first and really reset your nervous system. And what I mean by that is, like, I know as nurses, we know the nervous system, but I also believe and have seen that we don't know how to regulate it very well. And working in a hospital environment is not a very regulating environment either. So, we have our parasympathetic, our rest and digest, our calm system, and we have our fight or flight system. So most of the time, if you're in burnout, you've been in fight or flight for way too long, for a long period of time and constantly in fight or flight. And this is where the burnout comes from the physical aspect of the body. So doing things like, that's why I started meditating. Meditating isn't for everybody. And it's not that meditation is to have a quiet mind necessarily. It's about noticing your thoughts. So there's lots of different nervous system regulating things you can do, like walking on some kind of piece of earth. So if that's the beach, if that's just some dirt or ground, because the earth has a certain vibration and frequency, and we are also energetic beings. So to actually do that will actually calm the nervous system. You can like painting and drawing is actually a form of meditation as well, because your focus is actually on that as well. So if you're someone that thinks you might have like ADHD or like your mind constantly runs and you are like, Liv, meditation's not for me, try painting or drawing. And if you have to listen to something at the same time, whatever's relaxing for you, when you know that you're calm and relaxed, that's the thing that you should do first. So yeah, that's my first recommendation, is calm the nervous system and then evaluate your options. Do I actually want to leave nursing, or do I want to try it just working 3 days a week, or like reducing your hours, whatever that looks like for you? And then address your physical body. Are you actually eating well? Like this is the bit that's like, you need to be really real with yourself. Like, are you actually eating well? I'm going to say, for a general rule, like an 80 or 70% eating well, at a 20 to 30%, you've got room to move, you eat out. Alcohol also, I do know there's a culture within nursing that it's like, I'm going to go home and have a wine. I like red wine, but if you're using
Yeah, yeah,
alcohol
yeah.
and wine as your crux to calm down after shifts, that's not okay. Alcohol is a poison to the body at the end of the day, and it works overtime to try and get it. So
Yes.
address your alcohol issues, and like that's an underlying thing. Like, where are you not getting the comfort from yourself or from your family members or from your support network, where you feel like you need to turn to a poisonous alcoholic substance to calm that down?
I agree with you. Yeah.
Self-reflection and
100%.
self-inquiry is probably the most powerful thing, and one of the things I want people to take away from this. Getting curious about yourself and your behaviors and questioning them. So that takes a bit of an ego death. You need to drop your ego to be able to question what's going on with me, and what is it inside of me that needs to change first? Because it's not external factors, it's a self thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll even add to your first off, beautifully said. I should have just
Thank
put
you.
you on a soapbox and just given you a microphone and let you just go on because that was just succinct. It was perfectly said. But I think I would add, and I would only add this because I think it is I I would add this because I have found this in myself, and I agree with you.
Yes.
We don't get outside enough. When we're trapped inside from 7 in the morning until 7 at night in a building, we don't even see the sun. We leave, we got in before the sun was out. We're leaving after the sun is out, but gone away. We're going in when the day starts and the sun has barely peeped itself out. We're getting out when the sun is gone and we don't see the sunlight. We aren't touching the ground, like you said. We're not grounding. We're not getting that negative ions that we get from the earth. And it's very interesting because when I started to study this stuff, I started realizing when they shock the body, they shock us with energy, joules are energy. So there must be an energetic, source to who we are inside of us. And we don't ever talk about that. When do I balance the positive with the negative? If we are an energetic being, where does that get balanced? You're in a building for 12 hours a day, 72 hours a week, working as a nurse. I mean, it's not good. That's not good for your nervous system and your ability to heal. On top of the fact that we don't see the sunlight. And so that's another thing that I've started cultivating and just to prevent burnout is like, we need light. We need to go and get those broad spectrum light. So I encourage, like, you got to get out, like, take a break during your job and during your shift to go like 30 minutes. I'm going to go outside and eat my lunch outside. Like, everyone needs to hold it together in here because the world will continue to spin without you. So go take that 30 minutes, go see some sunlight, sit outside with your
Yeah.
feet on the
That's
ground
what
and eat
I
your
do.
food. Like,
Yeah.
and then go to the bathroom
Yeah.
on your
That's
way
actually
in.
what I
Right?
started doing at work. I started going outside of my lunch breaks. 'Cause
Yeah.
like you talk about, and especially with our circadian rhythm, like if people are having trouble with sleeping and schedules, if you get your sunlight in the morning and at night, even if it's the orange light, that's great. I actually have red light globes in my room now. So at nighttime, I go to red light globes so that I don't have that fluorescent bright light. But yeah, I've noticed that a lot of my colleagues now go outside for lunch, or there's quite a few of them that have started going outside after I've started doing it. So it's like so nice to see that. So I'm like, yes, getting it.
Yes, exactly. And I do the same, actually. It's so funny. I think you and I are very similar because I actually have red bulbs after a certain period of time at night. I turn them on instead of using the bright fluorescent lights. My husband's like walking around the house and he's always complaining that it's so dark. And I'm like, it's supposed to be dark. We need to get ready. And he's like, I can't do it. I'm walking. And I'm like, no, very true. No, because I'm trying to create and increase your melatonin. Your melatonin is huge for your ability to clean your body and to detox, and it helps with hormone regulation. And yet, when we're in sunlight from day up, we're in bright lights from the start of the day to the end of the day. We're not getting out. It's no surprise that our nervous systems are dysregulated and they are struggling and they're screaming out, I need balance. And so I love that you're inspiring people to go out and eat lunch. I try to do that at my job too with my coworkers, and they're always laughing at me because I'm like, girls, like, we need to
Yeah,
go outside. Let's go for a walk. And we'll actually just all walk around and during our breaks. But we don't take our breaks as nurses. We don't, and as nurse practitioners, we don't. We just assume we've got to work just as hard to keep up with everyone. And I actually believe that, and this is to finish, if you prioritize yourself, I think you will be a better
100.
worker, period. You'll be less burned out. You'll be more patient. You'll be more kind with your patients and to yourself. And lo and behold, I think you'll get more done just because you'll just won't be so tired and staring at the screen and all the different things. So I think it actually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy if you prioritize your health in order to be a better worker. Yeah, I think if you prioritize yourself, you
Totally.
become a better
Totally
worker.
agree.
That's what I believe. So, yes. All right. Well, where can people find you? Give a
Yeah,
shameless
sure.
plug for what
So
it is that you're
I'm
doing.
probably most active on Instagram and TikTok, and they're my two platforms. So they're both nurse underscore live underscore Gargioni, Gargioni. Yeah. So you'll find me on Instagram and TikTok doing a lot of different kind of content. The basis of it is to prevent burnout and all of that mixed in with now I'm doing travel nursing at the moment. So there's a lot of like travel nursing stuff on there too. Oh, and I have YouTube now, which you can find in my, in my
Yep.
Instagram
Yeah.
bio. So there's a bit of travel nurse vlogs on there for the moment. Yeah.
That's cool. All right. Well, we'll put all that in the show notes so you can easily find her. She's super
Thanks.
entertaining. You're super cute and all your stuff. So I was stalking you as I was getting ready for the podcast. So the last part of what we do
Okay.
for the podcast is the rapid fire. Olivia, are
Yes,
you
sorry, I
ready
don't
for
know what rapid fire is, but it hit me.
Excellent. That's what we love. Don't know what it is and you're slightly scared. Let's do it. We're not going to dysregulate your nervous system. So tell us, what is your favorite season in
Favorite
Australia?
season, probably spring. Yeah. Yeah, it's not as
Is it
hot
not as
because
hot?
I'm on
I
the
feel like
Gold
Australia's
Coast
really
in
hot.
Queensland. So I don't do well with very humid, hot climates. And that is definitely here in summer. So spring or autumn.
Yeah. But your default was spring. Okay. And if you could give a book to anyone, any book that you're like, this one is solid, read it, this is the book, who would you give it to? Like, no, who would you give it to? Which book is
Conversations
it?
with God. Yeah. So it's actually, it's not a religious
Who
book.
wrote this?
It's a really great book to get you thinking in a completely different way. I would highly recommend it.
Interesting. Conversations
It's
with
by
God.
Neil
I'll
Donald
have
Walsh.
to check it out. Yes, I'd love that question. Okay, I will check it out. And then this question I asked because I started realizing that with our name, Success NP, it means it's the purpose of it is to create a conversation around what it looks like to be successful as a nurse practitioner and clinical pearls, right? So things to help you in your clinical practice as a nurse practitioner. One of those is defeating burnout. So that's why this topic is so relevant. But also, I want to know what it looks like for Olivia to feel like she's successful. What does that
For
look like for
me,
you?
success looks like having something that I am working towards. That's important to me in a career sense, and having a really great group of friends around me, talking to my family, having a regulated nervous system, and keeping in things that I enjoy in my life. That's my success. Like if I have all of those things, and
Yeah.
adventure's a really big value of mine. And so as long as I have my sense of adventure, my passion and my purpose in and outside of my career, my regulated nervous system, and just literally doing what I want to do in my life, then that's success to me.
Yes, I agree. Well said. Well said. And I was doing away with this, but I think I'm going to bring it back. The Success NP quote of the day: patience, persistence, and perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success. That's by Napoleon Hill. He wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, which if you have any time, that is a fantastic book to read. Napoleon Hill, I read anything he writes. It's gold. It is wisdom beyond wisdom, and I'm obsessed with him. So I read the quote and I was like, I'm putting that in. I'm bringing back the quotes, guys. I don't know if you're into it or not, but I'm bringing it back. Thanks for coming on the podcast,
Thank
Olivia.
you
It
so
was a
much for
joy and a
having
blessing
me.
to
It's
meet you
been
today.
a great conversation. Loved it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Be well, my friends. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Success NP. We hope today's discussion has shed some light on the diverse career options or taught you how to improve your clinical practice as a nurse practitioner.
Remember, whether you're considering a specialization, pursuing advanced certifications, or exploring non-traditional roles, there's a wealth of opportunities out there waiting for you. Be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode and leave us a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. The Success and Peace podcast is on the World Wide Web, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X. So subscribe to our newsletter for updates on new podcast episodes and other information to help you on your own NP journey. You can always message us at successnpspodcast@gmail.com with any NP podcast episodes or topics you'd like us to discuss.
Until next time, take care. Stay curious and keep advancing your careers as a nurse practitioner. And just a friendly reminder, the information on this podcast is for educational purposes only. The information should not be used in substitute for professional care by a medical provider. The information on this podcast does not represent medical or professional advice or services.
Bye for now.